Living on a permaculture farm in a warm, sunny place seems to be like this utopian dream for a lot of people nowadays, and I kind of just woke up from that dream. I'm back in Germany right now, and in today's video I want to share what that experience of living in the Sunshine State, aka Florida, for the past 30 days has been like for me. Some of the highlights, some of the tasks I've been doing around the farm, and what I've learned about farming and life. So one of the first tasks my wonderful friend and host Gabriel and I did was getting pups. We have a little insider joke and we sometimes like to call them puppies, but they're not puppies. They are little seedlings, I guess you can call them. They're not really seedlings, but seedlings from banana palms. So we went to his neighbor and we got a bunch of pups and we planted them a couple days later on his property so that he could have those bananas. Another great task that I was very honored to be a part of was also harvesting a bunch of the fruits that I was eating throughout the month. We harvested a ton of black sapote, the chocolate pudding fruit, which you maybe saw in one of my recent reels. On the farm that I was on, there wasn't any fruit growing yet, but the host that I was staying with had a ton of neighbors, and that was also one of the biggest highlights for me during this stay, was just the support, the community network between the different farmers, between the neighbors. Everyone was so helpful, like helping each other out. Also, if my host was needed by another neighbor for help, he would drop everything and go there and help. And it really touched me so deeply, and it was so beautiful because I was thinking, like, if we all were living like that, like what a beautiful place this would be. And I mean, our earth, which is another realization I had, is already such a beautiful place. If we just shift our perception and we focus on the tasks, we focus on the things, we put our time and energy into the things that really, really matter, we can transform this planet into a literal paradise where you get little drug highs from eating the fruit because it's so delicious. And the neighbors of Gabriel didn't even have a permaculture farm. It was just, kind of monoculture style where a lot of fruit trees of the same kind were next to each other. It wasn't really like a fruit forest, but it was more spread out. And I'm gonna get to some of the advantages of doing it in a permaculture way, into a syntropic way in a little bit. But yeah, and still the fruit tasted so amazing. Like, oh my God, it was so good. And yeah, we got so many gifts from neighbors, from other farmers, and it was just, really, really like heart touching to see how generous everyone is, how much abundance there really is in nature. Another really, really important task, and those are some of the tasks that you don't really think about when you go to a farm, but we're creating a good environment for the fruit trees. So for example, spreading mulch. So mulch is kind of like old decomposed waste material that you often get very cheap or free, and the mulch is being spread on top of the soil. This really helps keep the moisture in the soil, create a really, really good and rich soil, also because it decomposes after some time, and also it keeps a good temperature and just makes the soil really, really nutrient rich. We also planted a bunch of normal trees because in syntropic agriculture, which is kind of like a new way of planting that arises, it's being said that for every fruit tree you should plant 100 normal trees, because the more diversity you have inside your system and the more density, so if you have a lot of different trees, a lot of different plants, the richer the soil, the more communication there is between the different plants, the more nutrient exchange, and also the more solar energy can be absorbed by those leaves of those trees. And then I also planted a lot of grass around the trees in a circle. And one big reason why in syntropic agriculture they plant a lot of things like Napier grass around fruit trees is so that in the future you don't have to get any mulch from outside, but you can just use the mulch that you create by growing your own grass and then putting that on top of the fruit trees in the soil. I just finished cutting the grass, and basically because Gabriel doesn't use any fertilizer on his fruit trees, I'm going to be planting that around a soursop tree to create that really rich and healthy soil. It's going to make the fruit taste really good. So yeah, here's all that grass. So I'm going to be cutting all that up and put it in here. And here's all the grass that I cut. And here's a tree that I'm gonna be planting it around. All right, so now comes my favorite part. So I stab these holes with this really heavy thing, which for me feels like a gym workout. I take one with a pot from the first one I planted and then stab a hole. Put this in and close it. And let me also show you what this looks like when it's accomplished. So in a few weeks or months time, this is what the Napier will be looking like. And this way there's always gonna be mulch that can be put around the tree as fertilizer and helping the soil. And it also creates that density and diversity in the soil that will help it make it very nutritious so that the fruit can develop in its full form. So yeah, planting these grasses around trees is amazing. And another highlight during this experience for me has been to really use my body, my time, my energy for something meaningful, for something lasting that will produce food, that will produce resources for future generations. Really understanding how important, how valuable and precious our life energy is, our time, what we can create, and what do I want to put that in? Do I want to put that into something that only creates instant gratification for me right now or for someone else? Or do I want to put it into something that will just like compound over time and create amazing things? Even though I haven't done as much, it was only 30 days and we weren't working every day, it was still a really nice experience for me to get my hands into the soil, dig holes, spread mulch, be physically active in a way where there is somewhat of a result, not immediately, but you know, for the future to come. Not even just for future generations, but even in a couple of years, those fruit trees are going to bear fruit. And of course, if I go into the gym or like I go for a run, I also get a result on my own body. But why not use that energy? Why not use my body? Also work it out, have it become stronger, fitter, and just like more vibrant and healthy, but at the same time be in nature, in a symbiotic relationship with nature, touching the plants and being really connected. Another thing I learned about farming was not just the density and diversity that I have mentioned, but also the dynamics. So in syntropic agriculture, they like to call it, you know, the DDDs, the dynamics, the diversity, and the density. So the density, I've already talked about how you plant a bunch of other things around the fruit trees. The dynamics is an important aspect because you want to give those plants a growth pulse. So when you, for example, cut the grass like I did with the Napier, then they can continue to produce again at a quicker and higher rate because you just chop them up. And it was nice to find kind of like a summary, okay, of what are the important aspects to look out for when you want to grow your own fruit. Then I also want to talk a little bit about some life lessons that I've learned from this experience. When I first got into these farming tasks, like I had no gardening experience whatsoever beforehand. I was so scared to do like a mistake, kind of reminding me of school and like even within work and business. I've always kind of been like scared to do a mistake. Even when I'm doing these YouTube videos, I'm scared to say something wrong, or I'm scared to not edit the video in the right way or use the right title for the video. And when you're in nature and you're just planting trees and touching the soil and working with it, you can't really make any mistakes. Like even if you did, nature is so strong, it'll rebuild again. So that fear kind of slowly faded away. And now I've also kind of become very aware when that fear comes up in other areas, like even when making food or doing simple tasks throughout everyday life, to surrender to that fear and know like there is no mistakes, everything can restore itself again. And then also like a different connection and appreciation for the food I was eating. So before coming to the farm, I've sometimes made it a habit to, before I eat the food, visualize how it got to my table, even though I never, of course, knew how exactly that happened. Expressing gratitude for the farmers that have been like picking the fruit and everyone working in the chain so that I could have that food. But it was nowhere near like the appreciation that I can have for it now that I've literally like spent time with these farmers and seen them pick it from the tree, and how much work goes into it, not just picking the fruit, but like caring for the trees, caring for the plants, caring for all of that. And sometimes, you know, we would literally sit down to a meal of fruit that we picked ourselves, or that farmers from nearby have picked for us, or we have seen them pick it for us and give it to us. So that was kind of a really nice experience that even now coming back to Germany has somewhat deepened the connection and the relationship that I have to fruit. Now when I make my smoothie every day, I'm like extra grateful for those bananas. And the last realization I want to share is also the importance of patience. So when you plant all these trees, you're obviously not going to harvest the fruit from that right away. But at the same time, you're still harvesting fruit from trees that have been planted in the past. And there's always going to be abundance, and like things are still always going to be in balance, even though the outcome of something that you are creating right now isn't here yet. An outcome of something you've created or someone else has created in the past is here right now. So to kind of be patient for what is coming next, and not expect or anticipate that outcome, but be grateful for the things you've planted in the past. And I'm not talking about fruit trees right now, but I'm talking about manifestations and things that were something like, for example, for me, 3 years ago, I could have never imagined that my health would be at the place where it is right now. I was like, that's not possible. I have all these junk food things, cravings, emotional eating. I don't know how to overcome that. I don't know how to get myself motivated to move every day. And now I'm at a place where this is just second nature to me. I'm not even thinking about it anymore. So now I can put my focus to new seeds I want to plant in my life, whether that is financially, whether that is relationship-wise. And really seeing though, okay, I'm really, really grateful for those seeds I've planted that I can reap the fruits from right now. So yeah, even though we've been planting all these trees that weren't bearing fruit, we were still receiving fruit from sources outside of that. So that was a huge realization. Always holding that vision of what is it that you want to create and planting those seeds every day. And generally just being on that farm and that experience has given me like so much hope for the future. And I truly believe that fruit has the potential to change the world and turn this planet that we're living on into a place that is so beautiful we can't even imagine it right now. And I really came into contact with the fact of how important this is right now. Whether it's just you buying more fruit and thus more fruit trees being planted, more trees being planted in general, and less suffering happening because less animal industries are needed for the consumption of our calories, or whether it is actually going out there and planting trees, finding ways to, you know, do that, whether it's in your own garden or maybe you know someone who owns a farm. And maybe even instead of going to a vacation, going on a permaculture farm. There are so many places that desperately need help. There's an app called Woofing. If we all work together on this, we have so much potential to really create a beautiful place. So yeah, that was the video. If you want to learn why 15,000 bananas have changed my life and why I think it can potentially change the world too, make sure to check out this video. And other than that, maybe see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!